Thanks, Reagan, for coming on. I'm just laughing because of what we were talking about before.
Thank you so much for
Um,
having me.
yes. So today we have Reagan Bashara. She is a small business bookkeeper with nearly a decade of experience helping entrepreneurs in the US be more financially literate and empowered about their business. She loves working with new and established business owners to get their practices in place to achieve success. No matter where you are at in your journey, she has the experience and know-how to help you create a more balanced entrepreneurial identity.
hmm Yeah.
So thank you again for joining us. And
hmm
of course, the first question I always ask all my guests is, what is your definition of balance?
Yeah. So I thought about this question a little bit since you sent it to me in advance. Thank
Mhm.
you for doing that.
Yes.
So I'm not like in the spot on the spotlight. Uh,
Yeah. It's like, wait, what?
yeah. As a business owner, I think the idea of balance is so much different from being an employee. And
Mhm.
I worked as an employee for my entire working life up until last year and started a
Mm,
business. And having to intentionally create not like balance, but like segments of my time for like work
mm,
thinking and
yeah.
household thinking and running and pleasure activities and hobbies so that I can have a
Yeah.
relaxing creative outlet and then sleeping at appropriate times.
Oh,
So
yeah.
having a balanced life to me doesn't necessarily mean equal times or equal parts in those different areas, but if I'm being drained by work and talking to
Mhm.
people and working on stuff, then I need to kind of fill up the other areas that are spending time with my
Mm,
husband and my pets
yeah.
and like watching TV or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love watching TV. That is a cup of things that I like to fill is my TV watching time.
Top priority.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will get that in,
Yeah.
even if I have to stay up a little bit longer.
hmm
Yeah. So I totally understand that trying to find a way to make time to fill all those areas, especially going from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, because you don't just go to work and then come home and then you get to do your home stuff. Your business can encompass all your life, or it can not
Yeah.
encompass, it can like take over.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're
Definitely.
not careful, we're going to be working all of the time when for most of us we started our own business partially to have that freedom
Yeah.
when we are probably more free when we were an
Yeah.
employee.
Yeah, especially if you're an hourly employee too. You
Mm,
clock out and you can just shut it off and not think
yeah.
about it. And I work
Mhm.
from home. This is my home office. And so my business literally lives with me.
Mhm.
And it's a virtual firm, but it's a huge part of my life. And I have to establish those boundaries with myself to like
Mhm.
because when you say like, well, we could just end up working all the time, it's not even
Yeah.
that. You could end up like just doing marketing all the time or just
Oh,
doing
yeah.
client work or
Mhm.
sending emails or something. You also have to find that balance within that segment of I'm going to be working. Well, what am I working on today? Mondays are really a rest day for me. And then I have a weekly podcast. I record those episodes Monday afternoons. And Tuesdays and Thursdays are my client work days. So I still have to be like,
Mm,
I am only going to work on this thing at this time. And then I don't work on the weekends. I don't want to at all. And I
mm,
try really hard
yeah.
to have that boundary with myself so that I do have time to rest and do things that I just enjoy and that are pleasurable activities with me for me.
Yeah. No, that's really good. It's like so important to have those boundaries. And if you don't, try and figure out a way to establish some form of rest in there, or
Yeah.
even like a full day where you're not doing any work at all, because that's so important to not go into burnout.
Yeah, I recently had a burnout episode that I had been working almost every day for a couple
Mm,
weeks. And obviously I chose to do that. Nobody's sitting here like telling me to. I was just, well, I'll just do a couple hours this on Sunday and on Saturday I just
mm,
need to do this one thing. And several weeks went by and I completely crashed and then I got sick the next week and couldn't do anything and I was
mm.
like, well, this is why we don't do this. Because then I
Yes.
completely wind up in burnout mode where I physically and mentally cannot work. And it just
Mm.
all has to kind of get shut down for a minute until I can recover. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, for me, even earlier this week, there was one day where I had no client scheduled, no interview scheduled. It was just an open morning. And
Mhm.
so my idea was to catch up on some paperwork and notes and stuff. Well, that didn't happen because I was just so exhausted. I had watched a TV show while I was eating breakfast, and I'm like, oh, just one more. And then I realized,
Yeah.
like, oh, well, my next
Oh,
session's at 1. Well, just one more. And then I realized I'm just so tired because I've been going, going, going that I needed to be okay with taking this break, or else I wasn't
yeah.
going to be going. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I tell myself, oh, I'll just get a couple things done, unless I decide in advance what those couple of things are going to be, either
Mhm.
nothing gets done or something completely different takes up my time. And so I have it's not like strict, but I have like, I don't even want to say rigid. It works for me. And it's just a calendaring system of like, I know what's coming up. And
Mhm.
so in advance, I can kind of prep my brain to be in the mode to do that thing.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I like the system that I've come up with for that reason, because I don't want to fight with myself when the time comes. I don't want to be sitting there trying to come up with excuses. But if I am truly feeling tired or
Mhm.
burnt out, I also allow myself to have the rest that my body's asking for in that moment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that definitely takes paying attention to your body
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a practice thing too, to have that conversation with yourself without the
Mhm.
shame and stuff too.
Yeah. So I was excited to have you on because I haven't had anyone on that talks about like
Hmm.
finances in entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
And this podcast is definitely marketed to moms and
Hmm.
women. So, in your experience, what has been maybe the number one, I guess it doesn't have to be issue, but number one thing that maybe moms who are entrepreneurs or who have started a business, like what is the number one thing that they're coming to you for? Or
Yeah.
maybe not even coming to you for, but like find that that was the number one
Yeah.
problem or struggle.
I think like there's just so much socialization for women, and especially if you're a mother, which I'm not, I don't have children, but I have so many friends and clients that do have
Mhm.
children that share these experiences with me. And it's like, as women, we are definitely taught to kind of like not take pleasure just for the sake of pleasure, like not do a hobby that we really enjoy
Yeah.
without also monetizing it. Like, how is this giving back to me financially so that I can turn around and buy my
Mhm.
children's school clothes and supplies and take
Yeah.
them on a vacation? And I see so many moms struggle with the guilt of just finding time for themselves to do something that they enjoy without having that
Mhm.
necessity of like, well, what is this giving? How is this giving back to my family? It doesn't have
Yeah.
to. It should give back to you first, and that you enjoy it, or it's relaxing, or you like
Mhm.
some sort of emotional benefit from it. And I talk to
Yeah.
folks a lot about kind of turning folks that like have a hobby that they're like, I'm going to kind of turn this into a side hustle. I want to
Mhm.
turn this into a fully fledged business. And I see that as the progression that we're all kind of expected to do. Any
Mhm.
sort of creative pursuit, or even in like the direct sales industry where you're being told that you need to market
Yeah.
to your friends and family and create this
Mhm.
network. And it's
Yeah.
like, can't we just kind of enjoy it, or like hang
Mhm.
out and do this thing? Or can I just do it because it's fun and relaxing for me and it's only for me? Like, I don't have to make money off it to pay for tuition.
Yeah. That is so true. I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I didn't even think about it, but it's so right. Like not everything that we enjoy
Mhm.
needs to become a business or
Mhm.
something that we gain financially from. It can
Yeah.
just be something that you can do just to do. But like you said, I think sometimes being a mom isn't enough or it doesn't seem like enough, but it is. If you're not a working mom, but you're a stay-at-home mom, you're still doing a lot of work
Yeah.
and you
And
don't
it's
have
skilled
to
work
also
too.
provide financially.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
And it's skilled work too. A lot of people don't see being a mother like childcare and making a home and household chores. What am I trying to say?
Yeah.
People don't see that as like skilled labor. And it's like, no, there are people with the financial means to hire folks to do that. It is skilled labor. You have to have a
Oh
skill
yeah.
set to raise children, especially. And you also have to have the skill set to like maintain a home economy, and you
Oh
have
yeah.
like this micro economy in your home, and obviously historically that labor has always been done by women, and
Yeah.
especially like Black and Indigenous women and people of color. And
Mhm.
it's like we need to appreciate and acknowledge that that is skilled labor that has financial value, even if you're just the default parent to kind of do those things. And there's not anything wrong with that, just deciding that you're going to like stay home, but recognize that that is your contribution and it does have financial value in the home.
It does. It does. That reminds me of, there's a book, I can't remember the author, but it's called Fair Play. I'll put it in the show notes, but she talks about how, I mean, being a stay-at-home mom, if you're not contributing financially because you're not working, you're still contributing financially, because if you were working, you would probably have to pay for someone to do some of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, from personal experience, my house right now is a disaster. It is a giant mess. There's something sticky in the living room that I have not mopped up because that takes some time.
It is a mystery.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's grapes, but but
yeah,
we don't have all of the time to keep up with the house the way you want to if someone that's just not their job already. And to balance all of these things, like that is still contributing financially.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't have children, but since I work from home, my husband works a salary job in an office. So he's not here most of the day. So I cannot sit here and expect myself to also be doing laundry and chores while I'm running a business during my business hours. Just because I'm home doesn't mean that like that stuff's going to happen. And my house is also sometimes a mess, and I don't even have kids. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No shame
I
in
mean,
that.
but for some people, they have this idea that, well, if she's at home, I mean, she can do it, right? Like, why can't she also do the dishes and the laundry? When
Right.
if it was the man staying home, that would not be a question.
Yeah.
That
And
would
I'm
not
not
be a question like, oh, well, can't he also do the dishes, cook the laundry, and all of the other
right.
things while he's there?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that my husband asks that of me at all. I'm saying these are my own thoughts about like,
Yeah.
well, I could just like go run the dishes, or I could run a load of laundry. But no, like I'm in the zone when I'm here at my desk working on my business. And, I take like a break for lunch where I step out of here and like go sit down and like eat a meal. And, I might get up and do some chores in the meantime when I'm on a break, but I cannot ask myself to multitask that way. But we as just like the royal we ask that of mothers who are staying home and raising children and keeping house. We ask them to multitask so many of those skilled labor things and not pay them for it. And it's just wild how all of that kind of stuff like intersects with the work that I do. I work with business owners. I'm a bookkeeper. I did taxes for for business owners for many years, but I still think so much about all these things because I have people come to me that are like, I just kind of do this hobby, or I have this side hustle, but I need to be financially organized because that's how you save money on your taxes. That's how you make sure you get all your deductions, as being a good record keeper for your finances. And so I see it happening, and I have to talk to people about these things, and I'm not able to not pay attention to that kind of stuff either,
Yeah, like it's clear. And I mean, sometimes I even catch myself doing it, like, oh, that could be a business.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a business every time.
Every day.
Yes. It does not.
I'm like into scrapbooking and stuff right now. And I'm like, oh, look at these people selling these beautiful journals that they made by hand. I could do that. And then I'm like, stop it. You already have a business. Can we just focus on like one thing right now?
Yes, that's so funny that you bring that up. I went and visited a friend and her mom lives with her, and I had never met her mom. And so my friend, she basically occupies like the upper floor in her house, and her mom's usually like downstairs.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't know that that was the arrangement. So my husband and I
Mm.
were downstairs, and her mom just like hijacked us and was showing us all these YouTube videos of these junk scrapbooks, I think
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
called. She was like, "Look at this," and I'm like,
That's me.
"People watch this?" And then I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, here we are watching. Here we
Yeah.
are watching it."
It's
Yeah.
quite fascinating.
Yeah, all
Yep.
of these things that they make, I'm like, "How?" And people buy that, wow.
They pay good money for those things too. Like I saw this one girl auction hers off on eBay and it was like 5 grand. Like the
Oh my
auction finally.
gosh.
I was like, okay, now I really need to get
Was there a signed Taylor Swift ticket on there or what?
right. Like you'll get to see Beyonce and Taylor Swift. Like yeah,
Well, actually,
man.
it's 10,000 if you want to meet and greet.
Oh gosh. I mean, that's why we all work, isn't it? So that we can meet Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
Yes, yes.
That's
So going back to everything doesn't have to be a business. And then if you did make this hobby that you really enjoyed a business, I find that it sometimes can take away that joy because now you're
hmm
putting pressure
hmm
on this thing that
Yeah.
didn't used to have pressure because now
Yeah.
you're like, well, I can make something financial, like I'm having financial gain out of this, but then you use that financial stuff on things and then you feel pressure to continue that financial thing for this
hmm
stability.
hmm Yeah. I talked about this recently too on an episode where it was like, first of all, according to the IRS, which I'm in the United States, I'm not sure where you and most of your listeners are from, but I'm going to be
Yes.
speaking specifically to the United States kind of taxes.
Yes.
So you can claim the expenses related to your hobbies if you're making an income from your hobby and you kind of hit like the little side hustle phase. People are paying you for your products or,
Mhm.
whatever. There's a limit to what you can claim. So totally go recover your expenses for your hobby. You go do that. The only thing is that they could come back if you're trying to claim that it's a business, like a for-profit business, and they see you continue to take a loss where you
Mhm.
have more expenses claimed than income claimed, then come back and say, this is actually a hobby, which means you can't claim a loss. You just get to claim zero. So I don't want to discourage anybody from taking a
Mhm.
hobby and something that they love and monetizing it, like having some sort of financial benefit for doing that on a consistent basis. Totally go do
Yeah.
that. I don't want to tell people that that's the wrong
Mhm.
thing to do at all. Of course not. But there is that aspect of it where, like, when we do go with the intention to monetize something, some of the joy does get sucked out of it a little bit, especially if you
Yeah.
start to rely on that income or if you need to start making income from it so that you can financially support some area of your life. It
Yeah.
does get to that point for a lot of people, in which case, having that balance, kind of like you talked about in the beginning, is so
Mhm.
important so that we can really have those boundaries with ourselves. We will all end up working ourselves to death if we take something that we love and try to monetize it
Mhm.
without boundaries. So
Yeah.
I try to be there for folks that are looking to have some financial gain from a hobby or an activity or turn something into a business. I want to be there with them for that journey just to kind of like show them like
Yeah.
these could be the implications if you were like not making a profit from it,
Yeah.
which you don't need to make a profit from something to like have it support you. There's other ways to like a fund a business, but having something that you love doing. I see this. I have a lot of artist friends, like all of my
Mhm.
art up here is like made
Yeah.
by my friends. And they just end up feeling so drained and burned out whenever they do
Mhm.
a show or a fair or something like a craft makers fair.
Yeah. Mhm.
And they have to intentionally work their schedule and
Mhm.
sit for the creativity to flow when you're not working on a project that you're going to sell. Like if you turn
Yeah.
everything into a money thing, it's not going to be fun. There has to be stuff that you do that sucks, that is like
Mhm.
trash,
Yeah.
that you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
intend to sell so that you can
Mhm.
have some outlet for creativity that isn't money. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, even I don't, straight monetize off the stuff that I put out on like social media, but sometimes the stuff isn't that great. But I need to put out the not great
Yeah.
stuff so that the creative stuff for the good stuff comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the consistency part of it. Nobody's saying that you have to be consistently amazing. Consistency
Mm,
is how you define it. And for me, just showing up in whatever kind of state I'm willing to show up in is good enough.
yeah. Yeah. No,
I
I
love that
love
you
that.
said, like, we're going to be on video, but also just come comfortably. And I'm like, you got it.
Yes. Yeah.
Noted.
I'm like, sometimes I'll be in a t-shirt, sometimes I'll
Yeah.
be in like a cute top, but
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I want everyone to feel comfortable.
Speaking of like turning hobbies into like money making financial activities, I also play video games like just really casually, but I'm like, I could set up a Twitch account and like
Yeah.
stream and like just play video games all the time for money. And it's like,
Yeah.
of course, it's not that easy. Otherwise, everybody would be
No.
doing it. Why does my brain want to come up with like, see how easy this would be?
Yes.
It's not going to be that easy. I know that for a fact.
And I had heard something like entrepreneur, like if you have more of like an entrepreneurial, like,
It's a
I
curse.
don't want to say like brain, but if you have this entrepreneurial spirit or thinking, you can see how everything could be a business,
Hmm.
which isn't always a good thing
No,
because you get
it's,
that the shiny thing syndrome that they
yeah.
say. Like, oh, that'd be cool. And it's so funny because even the other day, I was telling my husband, I said, I have an idea. He goes, for your business? I'm like, no,
uh,
just I have an idea for a fun get together. He goes, oh, okay.
like, where are we going with this?
Apparently, I had lots of ideas that I didn't tell him about.
Again?
Yeah, he was like, what for your business? I'm like, no, just it's a fun get together for friends. He goes, oh, okay. Yeah. So what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a bookkeeper, I'm always going around and like analyzing people's business
Hmm.
models in my head when I'm like somewhere, not business, I'm off the clock, but I'm like
Yeah.
looking around. And I had this TikTok video come up of a guy who I guess is like a CPA or whatever. And he was like at Disney World with his family. And he took a video where he was like going over all the things in his head about like, what must their annual revenue be? And oh, they rent out the strollers and they must make this much money. And that's this many dollars in assets for them. And he made this video and I was like, this is so me. Like everywhere I go, not
Yeah.
only do I have like the entrepreneurial, like, how could I turn this into a
Hmm.
business? I also have the bookkeeping side of me going, so what would their annual revenue look like? Like,
Yeah.
what would their overhead be? And I'm just like, brain is just constantly going with that stuff. And I'm like, can we just relax? Like, I
Yeah.
just want to sit here and relax, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it takes effort to turn that off. I mean, for
Yeah.
me as a therapist,
Oh,
people,
yeah.
I mean, you know how people always say, like, oh, you're a therapist, you must be analyzing me. It's like, no, but I could, but I intentionally have to turn that off so I
Right.
can be a normal human because that's exhausting. Like to just be there listening, taking everyone's stuff in and trying to analyze everything. That's too much. So I could
Especially
imagine. Yeah.
if someone's like, if you're just having a casual conversation, somebody says something to you and you're like, "Ooh, I'd love to learn more about that," like in a therapist sense, but I don't want to
Yeah.
like dig into their shit with them. Like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe that's not something I should ask them about, but I'm really curious and I want to know about it. That would be me if I were a therapist. I'd be like,
So
so
tell
how
me
does
more
that
about
make
your
you feel?
childhood.
Yeah.
How
So
can we
tell
fix this?
me, how does that make you feel? He would be like, I know what you're trying to do right now.
I had even seen someone like a therapist was saying something like, I have to be like, I don't think they said conscious, but I have aware probably. I have to be
Mhm.
aware. Am I asking this follow-up question because I want to know the gossip, or am I
Yeah.
asking this question because it's pertinent to their
Right.
treatment?
Yes. My
Oh yeah.
body. Oh, buddy.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's like
funny.
being intentional in both settings in different ways. Yeah.
I mean, I have people come meet with me and cry too. So I'm just like, we're just talking about your number.
Yeah,
Like
I can imagine.
I try to like hold space and give them support and, just I'm not making fun of anybody at all. I want to make that clear, but I'm
Yeah,
also like, I am just not equipped to really handle this. Like, as a
yeah.
professional, I'm like, I don't know what to, I'm sorry you're upset. And, just try to
Hmm.
really coach them through it, I guess, or just be there so that they could kind of like talk through it. And then I'm like,
Yeah. I
and
mean, yeah, all you can do is like validate their emotions and say, you're gonna get through this. You're gonna figure it
exactly.
out.
That's
Right.
the word, validate their emotions and just be like,
Yeah.
I understand this is very difficult. Listen, I cry about my business all the time. Like, it's
Yeah.
totally fine. But
But
yeah, it's a lot.
yeah, and yeah, it can be. And I don't think people realize that money and finances is such a big topic that is more than just the numbers, because it's never
Yeah.
about the numbers. It's more
Hmm.
about like, what does money mean for me,
Hmm.
and what is my money situation like say about me?
Hmm. Yeah,
And that,
I can
yeah.
play with numbers all day and sit here and show you 5 different numbers that come from the same data. And,
Hmm.
we can talk about it. But usually it's like sitting here, people telling me, what they're afraid of and like what
Hmm.
they're trying to prevent from happening. And I love getting to work with folks on that level that are like really looking for the tactical or practical like skills to get where they want to be
Hmm.
using the kind of data that we create when we create a set of bookkeeping. So
Yeah.
I love that part of it. And so it's totally okay for people to come in whatever emotional state they're in, to
Yeah.
be quite honest, like it's fine. Um, but I am going to be like, okay, now let's talk about what we're going to do from this point.
Yeah.
And I appreciate when people are truly transparent and vulnerable with me too, because I'm not going to be able to get through with you and help you make the changes that you need to make if you're not willing to be real with me. And let's be honest, I've
Hmm.
seen your whole bank account. There's not a
Yeah.
lot hiding from
Oh
me
yeah.
after that point.
Yeah, it puts people
So,
in like a really vulnerable position,
yeah.
and I think it also makes them just more aware of their own financial situation
Hmm.
and their own like beliefs about their finances when you start working with, someone helping you with your bookkeeping.
Yeah. I've always said that it's kind of like holding up a mirror. Like it's
Mm,
just black and white numbers on a page, but you truly see your lifestyle, your spending habits, what you
hmm.
value, what you spend the most time thinking about or working on. You
Yeah.
see all of that reflected in your numbers. For a lot of folks who don't consistently look at those numbers, it can be quite shocking or hard to face. So I try to be there with them in that moment of like, oop, like I had a client, we were kind of doing a mid-year review and looking, they want to hire like another person for their business.
Mm,
And we were looking at their cash flow and it was like, I mean, your cash flow right now does not support you hiring a person at this salary level, but
yeah.
we're looking at this small window. If we look at a different window, it definitely supports that. So and I hope they didn't have like a complete meltdown after that, but I imagine that there was a little bit a little bit of
Oh yeah.
crying after that. But, it's not to say that like things can't be changed or worked on or implemented, and it's not like you can't take some sort of strategy to change that. It's not a permanent thing. But we at least need to know where we're starting from if we want to
Hmm.
get over here. We want to hire somebody, we want to, save money on taxes. Whatever it is that you want to do in your business, no matter how big or small, the record keeping financial organization will be one of the tools that you use to kind of get there. So it's
Mm.
everybody needs it.
Is there a favorite tool that you use for record keeping?
Yeah, I'm a QuickBooks Online Advanced Pro Advisor, which just means that I've taken their certifications
Mm.
for their products and I use it for my business. All of my current clients use QuickBooks Online. I don't necessarily think that everybody has to or should use it, but I find that it is the most robust tool for like reporting and tracking
Mm.
things and staying on top of it and automating a lot of that kind of record keeping and staying on top of your money. So I recommend it, but it's not like a have to situation. We can totally help you get organized, save money on taxes without paying for software like that.
Okay, yeah. And where are you located? Because yes, I am also in the US. I'm located in Texas.
Okay, I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, actually. I don't know what part
Okay.
of Texas you're in, but I'm in the northwest corner of Louisiana.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
on the very opposite side of Texas from you. So I'm in Del Rio, Texas, which is southwest Texas.
Gotcha.
Not like Brownsville South,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
like southwest of San Antonio. If people are
Hmm.
listening and they know Texas geography.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been too much to that side. We went to Austin last fall for like a little
Okay.
getaway, which was nice, but it's still hot. Like it's in the 90s right now here. And I'm just like, I'll never be cold again
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
like
No, I mean, yeah,
February.
it's still hot here too. It's still in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miserable.
Yeah. I
But
was talking to
yeah.
someone in Oklahoma, that they're in Texas now. And they're like, so when is it gonna get cool? I said, never.
Don't
Because
ask that because you're gonna
yeah.
jinx us and curse us all to
Oh
another
yeah.
snowstorm. Like,
Yeah.
ugh, I can't deal with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
They were like,
can.
in Oklahoma, it'd already be, chilly by now. I'm like,
Mm,
no, don't expect things here.
yeah, I we go to like Arkansas a lot for like camping, or we go to hot springs and stuff, and it's like the Ozarks up there, so it's like mountainous and it gets cold and they have seasons, but as soon as you come down into Louisiana, it's like none of that. Nope, can't
Yeah.
can't do that. Great.
Well, we are running out of time. I feel like we could
Okay.
keep going.
I
We're
will.
gonna, yeah.
If you let me,
We
I
won't be
will
able
just
to
keep
close
going.
down the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, well, I think this is a good stopping point
Yeah.
because I don't like to open anything I can't close. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a clock watcher in therapy, unfortunately. I'm like, so we're kind of almost done. I know this isn't my job, but I am watching the clock.
Yeah. No, I think because all of my practice is completely virtual.
Mhm.
I think that helps
Yeah.
because there's no clock. So it
Yeah.
puts me in charge, but I'm very much aware of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Reagan, for joining me and
Yeah.
sharing your knowledge and just hanging out. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
this
Thank you
episode.
so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.